They say little things change everything, but I never thought a simple camping trip would flip my entire world upside down. I'm Ethan, 26, a little too obsessed with perfect form at the gym and still figuring out everything else in my life. My days are a comfortable loop of work, workouts, and pretending I'm fine with how quietly my heart aches whenever I catch myself staring at Liam a second too long. Liam, my gym buddy, my best friend for almost 3 years now, and the one person who makes me laugh so hard I forget how heavy life feels sometimes. We'd always been close, spotting each other at the gym, grabbing post-workout smoothies, sharing playlists. But when he suggested we do a weekend hike and camping trip to switch things up, I felt that familiar twist low in my stomach. It was excitement, sure, but also that nervous flutter I get every time I imagine what it'd be like if things between us weren't just friendly. The plan was simple: hike up Red Pine Trail, camp overnight near the ridge, and come back down the next morning. But standing here now, in the parking lot at the trailhead, I could already feel the shift. The way Liam grinned at me, eyes squinting against the morning sun, made my chest tighten. He'd grown out his hair a little, just enough for it to curl at the ends, and he wore that worn black tank top that clung to him in all the right ways. "Ready to die on this trail or what?" he joked, elbowing me lightly. His touch, casual as always, sent a jolt through me that I swallowed down with a forced laugh. "Only if you promise to carry me when I collapse," I shot back, slinging my pack over my shoulder and trying to ignore the way my pulse quickened when his hand brushed my lower back for just a second too long as he passed by. As we started up the trail, the early morning air was crisp, filled with the earthy scent of pine and damp soil. Birds chirped overhead, and the crunch of gravel under our boots filled the spaces between our conversations. I caught myself stealing glances at him, at the way the muscles in his arms flexed when he adjusted his straps, at the little bead of sweat already forming at his temple even though it was barely past 8. This trip was supposed to be just another adventure. But deep down, I knew, or maybe hoped, that by the time we hiked back down, everything between us would be different. By the time we hit the 2nd-mile marker, my calves were burning, but I didn't dare complain. Not with Liam practically bounding up the trail like it was a warm-up set. That was always our thing. He pushed me just a little harder, and I pretended not to mind. We'd met at Ironworks Gym, both reaching for the same kettlebell. He'd laughed, flashing that easy smile, and said, "Rock, paper, scissors?" 3 years later, that kettlebell joke had turned into 100 other things, like how he still called me Mr. Perfect Form every time I got too serious, and how I teased him about grunting loud enough for people in the next block to hear. "Hey, Mr. Perfect Form," Liam called back over his shoulder, breathless but grinning. "How's that heart rate? Still in your optimal fat-burning zone?" I snorted, wiping sweat from my forehead. "Yours is gonna spike when I push you off this ridge." He laughed, that deep, genuine sound that always made my chest feel too tight. "Love it when you threaten me, Ethan." It was a joke. It always was. But his words hung in the air a little longer this time, and I found myself swallowing around the lump in my throat. We stopped at a clearing to drink water, the sun filtering through the trees and casting golden patches on his skin. He tossed me a protein bar without looking, knowing I'd catch it like always. That's what made us work, I guess. We had this rhythm, this unspoken thing where we always knew what the other needed, even before either of us asked. Our friendship had weathered a lot, bad breakups, his, family drama, mine, and countless hours at the gym, where we pushed each other past limits both physical and emotional. But lately, every time our hands brushed during a pass-off or when our eyes met in the mirror after a set, something tightened inside me. And maybe I wasn't as good at hiding it as I thought. As we packed up to keep moving, Liam glanced at the sky, frowning. Forecast said clear skies, but those clouds looked sketchy. I followed his gaze. Dark, heavy clouds were rolling in faster than I liked. My stomach sank. "You think we should turn back?" He shook his head, already pulling the straps tighter on his pack. "Nah, campsite's only another mile or two. We'll beat it if we hustle. But an hour later, the rain came down hard, soaking through our jackets and turning the trail into a slippery mess. We barely made it to the campsite before it really let loose. And by the time we had the tent up, both of us were drenched, shivering, and out of breath. Inside the tent, Liam cursed softly, tugging off his wet shirt and wringing it out. My throat went dry, and I forced myself to look anywhere else, at the crumpled sleeping bags, the muddy floor, the way my fingers trembled as I unzipped my jacket. Then came the next problem. "You've got to be kidding me," Liam muttered, holding up the second sleeping bag, completely soaked through from where the tarp hadn't covered the pack. "Well, looks like we're sharing." My heart stuttered. "Sharing?" He shrugged, like it was nothing. "Better than freezing to death, right?" "Right. Totally normal. Just two friends, sharing body heat, in a tent, where no one else could see." I nodded, trying to keep my voice steady. "Yeah, makes sense." But as he met my eyes, something flickered. There. Something unspoken, but electric. And I knew deep down that this trip was shifting into territory neither of us had dared to name before. By the time we crawled into the tent, the rain had turned the world outside into a wall of white noise. I could hear it pounding against the thin fabric, relentless and steady, like my own heartbeat hammering in my ears. Liam tossed his wet clothes into a heap by the door and grunted as he wriggled into the one dry sleeping bag, the one we now had to share. I sat frozen for a second, watching the way his back muscles shifted with every movement, my brain short-circuiting between "this is fine" and "this is definitely not fine." "Come on, Ethan. You're shivering, man," he said, his voice muffled, as he patted the empty space beside him. "Body heat, remember? Science. Science." Right. That's all this was. I swallowed hard and peeled off my soaked hoodie, my skin pebbling with goosebumps as the cold air hit me. My hands fumbled with the zipper on my damp pants, and for a terrifying second I thought about just staying wet and freezing, because getting into that sleeping bag meant getting close, closer than we'd ever been. But Liam shifted again. Pushing the bag open wider and without meeting my eyes, he said softly, "I'm not letting you get hypothermia, dude. Get in." His words were casual, but there was a tightness in his jaw, like maybe this wasn't as easy for him either. That flicker of hope, dangerous and sweet, made my stomach twist. I slid in beside him, trying to keep my body stiff and angled away, but the space was too tight. Our legs tangled almost immediately, and when my bare arm brushed against his chest, I felt the sharp inhale he took. Neither of us said anything. The silence stretched, broken only by the rain and our breathing, which sounded too loud in the cramped space. My heart was a wild thing, thudding against my ribs, and I couldn't tell if it was the cold or the way his thigh was pressed against mine that made me feel like I was burning up. I closed my eyes, willing myself to relax. "It's just Liam, your best friend, the guy who makes dumb protein shake jokes and sings off-key in the car. This doesn't mean anything." But then his hand moved, just a little, just enough to rest lightly on my waist, probably in his sleep, or maybe just to get comfortable. The weight of it was searing, and every nerve in my body lit up like a live wire. My throat felt tight. God, I want this. I want him. I've wanted him for so long it hurts. But if I crossed that line, if I even let myself hope, what if it ruined everything? What if he pulled away, disgusted, and I lost the one person who made life feel bearable? "Hey." Liam's voice was low, close enough that I could feel his breath against my temple. "You okay? You're tense." I forced a laugh, but it cracked on the edges. "Yeah, just cold." His hand flexed slightly against my side, and I felt him shift closer until our bodies fit together more snugly, like puzzle pieces that had always been meant to connect. "Better?" I nodded, even though the warmth spreading through me had nothing to do with body heat, and everything to do with how he smelled faintly like rain and pine and that familiar, comforting scent that was just him. Minutes passed, or maybe hours. Time felt elastic, stretching and snapping as every inch of my skin became hyper-aware of where we touched and where we almost touched. At one point, I dared to glance up and found him looking down at me, not in the way friends look at each other, but softer, lingering. His eyes flickered to my lips, just for a heartbeat, but it was enough to send a shiver down my spine that had nothing to do with the storm outside. I quickly looked away, my pulse roaring in my ears. Don't read into it. Don't ruin this. But then he spoke again, his voice even softer this time. You know, you never let people get close. Not really. But here you are, letting me freeze with you in a tent. I blinked, thrown off by the comment. You're different, I blurted before I could stop myself. The words hung there, heavy and charged, and I felt him still beside me. Different how? He asked, his tone unreadable. I swallowed hard, panic flaring. Say something safe. Make a joke. Don't confess. Not here. Not now. But my mouth betrayed me. Just, you're the only one I trust like this. His breath hitched, a sound so quiet I might have imagined it. But then his thumb, rough and calloused from years of lifting, brushed lightly against my side in a motion that felt almost tender. The tension between us coiled tighter, a live thing neither of us wanted to name but both of us felt. My chest ached with the force of everything I couldn't say. Please, Liam. Please see me. Please want this too. But instead I stayed still, trapped between the desperate pull of my longing and the paralyzing fear of losing him. The rain kept falling. And in the tiny world of our shared sleeping bag, everything between us balanced on the edge of something I wasn't sure I was brave enough to face. The rain didn't let up. Hours must have passed, but inside that cramped tent, time felt suspended, like we were caught between what we were and what we could be, if only one of us was brave enough to say it. Liam shifted beside me, and every small movement sent a fresh jolt through my system. Our legs were tangled now, not by accident, not really, and his hand still rested lightly against my side. It had been there so long it felt like an anchor, and yet every nerve in my body stayed on high alert. Neither of us spoke, and the silence had started to ache. Finally, he broke it. His voice was quiet, a little rough around the edges. You ever think about why we do this? I swallowed hard, afraid to ask. Do what? This, he said, his fingers twitching against me in a subtle gesture. These trips, the gym, all the late nights. Us. My chest tightened. I wanted to believe he meant more than friendship. I needed him to mean more. But the fear gnawed at me. What if I reached out and he recoiled? What if I ruined everything in one breath? Because we're friends, I managed, though my voice sounded thin even to my own ears. Liam let out a breath, something between a scoff and a laugh, but there was no humor in it. Yeah, friends. The word hung there, heavy and loaded. Couldn't take it anymore. My heart was pounding so hard it drowned out the rain, the wind, everything else. Liam, I started, but my throat closed up. His gaze snapped to mine in the dim light. His face was close, closer than it had any right to be, and I could see every detail, the faint scar on his brow, the flecks of green in his otherwise brown eyes, the way his lips parted like he was holding his breath. What? He asked, voice low. I hesitated. My chest felt like it might crack open. Say it, just say it. Before you lose your chance. My voice broke. I sucked in a shaking breath and tried again. I think about it, about us, all the time. His eyes darkened, and for a terrifying second I thought he might pull away, but he didn't. He stayed perfectly still, watching me like he was waiting for me to shatter first. I kept going, the words tumbling out now that the dam had cracked. I didn't want to ruin what we have. I didn't want to risk losing you. But Liam, I can't keep pretending it's just friendship. Not when every time you look at me, My voice cracked again, raw and exposed. I feel everything. The silence that followed felt endless. I couldn't breathe. My heart thrashed against my ribs like it was trying to break free. I squeezed my eyes shut, bracing for the rejection. But then softly, Liam exhaled. Ethan. My name on his lips made me flinch, but when I opened my eyes, he was still there, still close. And he looked wrecked, vulnerable in a way I'd never seen before. You idiot, he whispered, voice shaking. Do you have any idea how long I've been waiting for you to say that? It was my turn to blink in disbelief. Wait, you? His laugh was broken, breathless. Of course I have feelings for you. Why do you think I dragged you on all these trips? Why do you think I never let anyone else get this close? He let out a choked sound and ran a hand through his damp hair. I was scared too, Ethan. I didn't want to push and lose you. Relief and joy hit me like a tidal wave, so strong it almost hurt. My chest heaved, and I let out a laugh that turned into something dangerously close to a sob. You're serious? I asked, because I had to hear it again, had to make sure this wasn't some cruel trick of my hopeful brain. Liam's answer was to reach up, hesitant but deliberate, and cup the side of my face. His thumb brushed my cheek, and I leaned into the touch instinctively, every defense I'd built up over the years crumbling. I'm serious, he murmured, his voice raw. I want this. I want you. But I didn't know if you'd ever want me back. Emotion swelled in my throat, and I covered his hand with mine, grounding myself in the solid, real feel of him. I've wanted you longer than I can even admit. I was just too scared. His thumb swept across my cheek again, slower this time. Yeah? Well, maybe we stop being scared now. The tentative warmth in his words was all I needed. I leaned in, not thinking, not overanalyzing for once in my life, and rested my forehead against his. Our breaths mingled, shallow and quick. I don't want to mess this up, I whispered. You won't, he promised. We won't. We stayed like that, forehead to forehead, hearts pounding in sync. The storm outside raged on, but inside the tent, something fragile and new bloomed between us. Then slowly, Liam's nose brushed against mine, a soft, barely there touch that sent shivers down my spine. I felt his hesitation, the way he gave me space to pull away if I wanted. But I didn't. I never had. My hand slid up, curling against the back of his neck, and I let out a breath I didn't realize I was holding. Liam. That was all it took. He closed the distance, tentative and careful, like he was afraid of breaking me. Our lips met, not in some grand, sweeping gesture, but in a quiet, trembling kiss that tasted of rain and relief and every unspoken word we'd swallowed for years. The kiss deepened, slow and searching, as if we were both trying to memorize the feel of this impossible, precious thing we'd finally found. When we finally pulled back, both of us breathing hard, Liam rested, his forehead against mine again, and let out a shaky laugh. God, Ethan, what took us so long? I smiled, feeling lighter than I had in years. Doesn't matter now. We're here. His grin was soft and lopsided and perfect. Yeah, we are. And just like that, the fear that had gripped me for so long loosened its hold. Because in that cramped little tent, with the storm raging, outside we weren't just friends pretending anymore. We were something more, something real. The quiet after our confession felt entirely different from the silence that had come before. This one was warm, full of meaning, like we'd cracked open a door neither of us dared to touch until now. Liam leaned back slightly, giving me space, but his hand stayed wrapped around mine, our fingers loosely laced together. It was such a simple thing, but it sent a wave of warmth through me. We didn't have to hide anymore, not from each other, and not from ourselves. He gave me a small smile, eyes still soft. "You know, I really thought you'd figure it out sooner." I huffed out a laugh, the tension in my chest finally starting to ease. "Me? I was too busy overthinking every little thing you did. Pretty sure I drove myself half crazy trying to convince myself you were just being nice." Liam chuckled, his thumb brushing absent circles against the back of my hand. "Yeah. Well, I wasn't exactly subtle, dragging you on camping trips, accidentally, leaving my jacket behind so you'd have to wear mine at the gym." Classic moves. I raised a brow at him, mock offended. "Wait, you mean I froze my butt off last December because you had a plan?" His grin widened, and he shrugged, entirely unapologetic. "Worked, didn't it? Got you into my jacket." I laughed then, really laughed, and it felt like a dam breaking. All the tension, all the fear. It melted away in the face of his ridiculous grin, and the warmth pooling between us. We fell into an easy quiet again, this time with no pressure to fill it. Liam shifted closer until our shoulders bumped, his presence, steady and grounding. Outside, the storm had softened to a gentle patter, like even the weather was giving us this moment. After a beat, he spoke again, quieter this time. "So, what happens now?" I turned to look at him, heart squeezing at the uncertainty flickering behind his usual confidence. "I guess we figure it out. Together." His eyes searched mine. "You're okay with that? With us?" I squeezed his hand, grounding both of us. "Yeah, more than okay. I've wanted this. I just didn't know how to say it until now." He let out a breath, visibly relaxing. "Good, because I don't want to go back to pretending. Neither do I." We sat there for a while, just existing in this new, fragile space we'd created. It wasn't perfect. There were still questions, things to sort through. But for the first time, it felt possible. Eventually, Liam nudged me lightly with his shoulder. "You know, when we get back, people at the gym are going to notice something's different." I smirked, feeling bolder now with the weight lifted. "Let them. Maybe I'll finally stop blushing every time you spot me." He laughed, warm and free, and it wrapped around me like a promise. "Blushing, huh?" I knew it. I rolled my eyes but couldn't help grinning. Yeah, don't let it go to your head." Too late. Our laughter mingled, easy and light. And just like that, the heaviness of everything we'd carried cracked open into something lighter, something real. Outside, the rain continued to fall softly, but inside the tent, everything had shifted. We weren't just friends anymore. We were something new, standing on uncertain ground but willing to take that step forward. Together. Liam's hand squeezed mine again, a silent reassurance. I met his gaze and nodded. We'd figure out the rest. One step, one day, one smile at a time. The rain had stopped by the time we emerged from the tent, leaving everything quiet and soaked in the soft glow of the early morning light. The world outside felt like a fresh canvas, just waiting for us to make our mark on it. I stretched, breathing, in the cool, damp air. Beside me, Liam did the same, a little groan escaping his lips as he worked out the kinks from a night spent too close in that tiny space. But even in that discomfort, there was something comforting about having shared it. I caught him looking at me, his gaze soft, the kind of look that made my heart do funny things. He didn't say anything, just offered that small, familiar smile that had always been there but now meant so much more. "We're really doing this, huh?" I asked, my voice barely above a whisper as I turned to face him. Liam raised an eyebrow, a teasing glint in his eyes. "You mean we're really about to spend the rest of our lives figuring each other out?" He paused, then added, "Yeah, pretty sure we are." I smiled, the weight of his words settling into my chest, grounding me in a way that felt solid and real. You sure? I mean, it's not like I'm easy to live with. He rolled his eyes. Please, you've been annoying me for years and I'm still here. Then, his smile softened. I'm not going anywhere. My heart gave a little jolt. I didn't know how to respond, how to put into words the flood of emotions that hit me all at once. So instead, I did the only thing that felt right. I reached for his hand, our fingers tangling together without hesitation. Liam squeezed my hand, the connection between us solidifying in the simple, intimate gesture. He looked down at our hands for a moment, a quiet understanding passing between us. You know, he said softly, I've always thought there was something different about you. I never really understood it until now. What do you mean? I asked, though I had a feeling I knew what he was getting at. Liam turned to face me fully, his expression more serious now, but still warm. I don't know. You're not like anyone else, and I think that's why I've always felt this pull toward you. But I get it now. He took a breath, eyes softening. I get us. I smiled, squeezing his hand tighter. You're right. It was always there. We were just too scared to see it. He nodded. Yeah, but I think we're ready now, to really see each other. We stood there for a moment, just holding hands, letting the quiet of the morning wrap around us. I could feel the weight of the future hanging in the balance, but for the first time in my life, I wasn't afraid of what it might hold. Whatever came next, we would face it together. I'll never be good at this, I admitted quietly. I'm not perfect, but I want to try. With you. Liam's thumb gently traced the back of my hand, his gaze steady. You don't have to be perfect. I'm not asking for that. Just you. All of you. And I'll be right there beside you. Always. The words settled, deep in my chest, their truth anchoring me. I didn't need anything more than this. This moment, this promise. A soft wind stirred the leaves around us, and I couldn't help but feel that it was more than just the weather changing. It was us too. We should head back, I said finally. The idea of leaving this place feeling bittersweet, but necessary. We had a life to get back to, a new one, together. Yeah, Liam agreed, and for a moment I thought he might let go of my hand. But he didn't. He just held on tighter. But when we do, it's gonna be different. I nodded, already feeling the truth of it. Yeah, different. As we began walking back to camp, I found myself smiling without thinking. The kind of smile that felt natural, like it had always been there, waiting for this moment. The future was wide open, and though I didn't know exactly where it would take us, I was no longer afraid. We had each other, and that was enough.